Welcome to the Scenic Bookcast. Today we're diving into a genuinely complex, landmark piece of literature, Jack London's Martin Eden.
And we're not just doing a plot summary here.
No, not at all. We're taking excerpts from all over the book, from the very beginning to that brutal ending, to trace the journey of a working-class sailor.
A man who tries to completely remake himself through just sheer force of will and intellect.
And our mission for this deep dive is really to uncover the specific, often painful realities of that kind of intellectual and class ascension.
Exactly. This is not some simple rags to riches story. It's really a critique of, I think, the value of art versus the taste of the market and the immense cost of self-improvement when it's all driven by an external goal.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Our dive opens with Martin Eden. He's this rough, very self-conscious stranger who finds himself inside the refined world of the Morse family.
And he's there purely by chance, really, a quick act of bravery. But the second he's in that drawing room, the sources are so clear about how painfully aware he is of himself.
He feels like a total anomaly, just completely awkward.
And the social tension is immediate. It's almost all internal, too. He's so unnerved when someone calls him Mr. Eden.
Right.
He thinks to himself, Mr. It was certainly going some. And then his mind just goes, it snaps into what the sources call a vast camera obscura.
I love that phrase. But let's break that down for our listeners. What does that actually mean for Martin in that moment?
It means that every little detail of this refined world, the books, the art, the quiet, it acts like a pinhole.
Okay.
And it projects these sharp, painful images from his own life onto his consciousness. He's suddenly seeing the grime of stokework, the fights, the sea. He sees his own life reflected back at him, and he sees the gap.
And that class gulf is so physical, isn't it? The sources paint these incredible contrasts.
They do.
You've got Martin's hands, which are they're covered in fresh cuts and scrapes. He's got scars, including one from a knife fight.
And his clothes don't fit right. That starched collar is just chafing his neck. He's unused to stiff collars, and it feels like a physical cage.
Which leads us to maybe the most important symbol of class difference in these early scenes.
The hands.
Yes, the hands. He looks at Ruth Morse's hand, and he compares it to a rose petal, or cool and soft as a snowflake.
And then it hits him.
It hits him like a ton of bricks. Her hand is soft because she had never used it to work with. And that one detail suddenly makes him understand this concept he'd never grasped before.
The aristocracy of the people who did not labor.
Exactly. And this idea becomes this figure in brass, arrogant and powerful, that now stands in front of him.
And it's that intense contrast, the soft hand versus his rough ones, that really sparks his internal revolution, isn't it?
It's everything.
He doesn't just want to better himself. He resolves right there to change everything about himself to win Ruth.
She becomes something to live for, to win, to fight for and die for. And his plan to reform is it's so immediate and practical.
Almost brutally so. He notices his own teeth and decides he has to buy a toothbrush immediately. He admits he's never washed his teeth in his life. He's going to form the habit.
He's going to the free library to read up on etiquette. This isn't a slow burn. Yeah. It's a total immediate decree to jump from sailor to gentleman.
And he's willing to sacrifice for it. He even sees the stiff collar as a renunciation of freedom, but it's the price he's willing to pay.
He's aiming high, too. I mean, he asked Ruth how long it would take him to study before he could go to university.
Right, admitting he'd left grammar school 2 years early. He has no concept of the ladder he has to climb.
Which brings us to part 2. The grind, the relentless self-taught education.
Martin just plunges into books. He's driven by this idea that he needs to acquire the thought tools with which to think. He's reading everything, rhetoric, philosophy, poetry, devouring Swinburne and Kipling.
And he finds this illumination a great light in mythology of all things. Gailey's classic myths, Bulfinch's Age of Fable.
But the big one, the great discovery that sort of gives him the map to the universe, that comes from overhearing some working-class philosophers. A tramp, a labor agitator.
Mentioned Herbert Spencer.
Herbert Spencer. He rushes to the library, pulls out first principles, and it just completely rewires his brain.
The source material is incredible here. It says he starts reading late at night, and morning finds him still on the floor, still reading.
He reads all day. He's oblivious. He even misses his appointment with Ruth. Spencer gives him a scientific structure for the world, and he realizes that before this, the world was a Chinese puzzle to you.
It's a true epiphany.
Yeah.
And after that, he feels like he finally knows enough, structurally, to actually start writing.
But all that knowledge doesn't pay the bills, does it?
Not at all. And that's the harsh economics of art that he runs into. He starts writing at this furious pace, 3,000 words a day.
But that ambition just slams into the wall of poverty, debt, and constant rejection.
He's like a literary machine fueled by nothing but cheap food and willpower.
Yeah, the sources list his diet. Pea soup, beans, rice, dried fruit. He's pinning vocabulary lists to the wall while he cooks. He's behind on his rent, behind on his typewriter payments.
Pawning his clothes, his bicycle wheel, anything he has left just to keep going.
And the cruelty of the editorial process he faces is just, it's staggering. He sells a few things, right? Some jokes, light verse, a cereal for the youth's companion.
The hack work, yeah. But his best stuff, the things he pours his soul into, like that essay God and Claude or the story Adventure, they just get rejected over and over again.
And the bitterness really starts to creep in. He concludes that these editors are just failures in literature.
That's a powerful quote.
It is. Every portal to success in literature is guarded by those watchdogs, the failures in literature. The whole system feels rigged against real, powerful art.
And this professional failure is happening at the same time as his growing social isolation.
He's no longer working class, not really. He's intellectually left them behind, but he is definitely not accepted by the bourgeoisie.
He goes back to his sister Gertrude's house for a bit, and he just feels like he's suffocating.
He feels like everything about that old world is just reaching out to hold him down, to drag him back to being a toil beast.
And that pressure just builds and builds until it breaks. This is a huge crisis point for him. After all the work, the rejection, the starvation, he just wants to forget.
So he goes drinking with his old friend Joe. It's a moment of real weakness, but also recognition.
He admits it, doesn't he? After a few whiskeys, he says he just wants to forget it all.
Mm.
He realizes he can't win to the heights by trying to be a physical laborer and an intellectual.
It's just not sustainable. He sees that he's destroying himself, and for a moment, he is absolutely ready to quit.
But he doesn't. He pushes through.
Mm-hmm.
And as his intellectual momentum grows, we start to see that shift in perspective. The Moore Circle, his original inspiration.
They start to seem dull.
Yeah, unchallenging. His intellectual growth has given him new standards, and they just don't measure up anymore.
The exalted beings he used to admire, bank cashiers, university professors, he now sees them as talkers of platitudes. They just talk in these safe, predictable loops.
You can't connect with them. He finds that real kinship only with Brissenden.
The brilliant, cynical, sick poet, the Lunger, who tells him to serve beauty and damn the multitude.
Brissenden gets him. He sees Martin clearly, saying he's too elemental and too rational to prosper by writing the safe stuff the magazines want.
And that friendship, that philosophical kinship, it really spurs Martin's own shift towards a very harsh individualism.
He moves away from the socialism he first heard about in the park, right?
Completely. He starts to see society as just weak and rotten. He throws down the gauntlet at a dinner party, arguing he's the only true individualist in the room.
And he believes in the rule of the strong. But isn't that a total rejection of his own class roots?
That's the core of his tragedy, I think. His philosophy is forged in his own struggle. He sees the socialists as weak, and he sees the bourgeoisie as hypocrites.
Just shrewd and spidery traders and moneylenders.
Exactly, who secretly run this trader oligarchy. So in his mind, neither group is worthy of his loyalty. Only his own strength made him worthy.
But that journey creates this awful intellectual chasm.
A huge one.
He knows he can never go back to his family, to the gang. He tries to explain his ideas, these almost Nietzschean concepts, to his sister Gertrude.
And she just can't cross that gap. Her response is so simple and so heartbreaking. Her highest idea of right conduct is,
Get a job.
Get a job. And it's a paradox because the source shows that as he watches her leave, his whole philosophical framework, that Nietzschean edifice,
Seemed to shake and totter.
his mind is telling him one thing, but his heart, seeing his sister's real physical struggle, is screaming something else entirely.
And then the landslide.
Yeah.
It's so sudden, so arbitrary.
It's sparked by the publication of The Shame of the Sun, which starts this huge controversy. It wasn't even his best work.
No, but suddenly editors are overwhelmed by this new stylist. They're offering him enormous sums of money.
$1,000 an essay.
For manuscripts they rejected when he was literally starving.
Mm-hmm.
The irony is just brutal.
It is. And you see the reversal of fortunes immediately. Bernard Higginbotham, who threw him out of the house for not having a job.
Now wants a $7,000 loan.
And Marion, his other sister-in-law, comes to him in tears, begging forgiveness for her lack of faith.
And Martin sees it all with total cold clarity. He knows he's not being rewarded for the merit of the work performed.
No, that work was done when he was hungry. He's being rewarded because he's now part of the mob mind. He's a commodity. He questions the validity of his popularity because he knows it's based on spectacle, not substance.
What's so fascinating is what he does with the money. He doesn't go on a spending spree.
Not for himself, no. He uses it to fix the problems of his old class. He promises his landlord Maria a milk ranch. He offers his friend Joe money to get out of the laundry.
He knows the people buying his books now, the bourgeoisie, they can't possibly appreciate the work itself. They're just reacting to a trend.
Which brings us to the final bitter stage. He's achieved everything he set out for: wealth, fame, intellectual status.
But he finds life without tang and better. He gets a physical exam, and the doctor says his body is magnificent, but his appetite for life is just gone.
It's heartbreaking. He won the game only to discover the prize was worthless. This is the profound alienation. When Ruth comes back to him,
The woman who broke their engagement because he was poor and irresponsible.
now that he's successful and acceptable, she comes back. And he is completely apathetic.
He just confronts her with the truth. He's the same man he was before, but now she wants him. He tells her he has no desire to write anymore. He's going back to the South Seas.
He's just done. The source says he sleeps constantly and that now life he grudged, not sleep. The struggle to get the knowledge led him to reject the entire world that knowledge was supposed to unlock.
He transformed himself and found he had no home. Not in the working class, not with the bourgeoisie, not even in celebrity.
So his only instinct left is flight, just oblivion. He gets on a ship, Maniposa, heading for Tahiti, dreaming of a grass house and forgetting the books he had opened and the world that had proved an illusion.
So after all that, what does this painful story mean for you, the listener? Martin Eden's journey is really a cautionary tale. We've pulled a few key takeaways from the material that should stick with you.
The first is that a journey of self-education, of intense intellectual growth, can fundamentally alienate you from every world you once knew, both the one you left and the one you fought to enter. That chasm is real.
Second, the validation we call success often shows up too late to matter. Or it's based on something flimsy like mob mentality, a controversy, a trend, not the actual value of the work performed during the lonely years of struggle. You have to ask, are you being valued for your effort or for your popularity?
And finally, having a singular external goal like winning a person or a certain status can completely blind you to the deeper intrinsic value of knowledge and creativity itself. When you finally get that goal and realize it's hollow, there might be nothing left to sustain you.
Martin Eden achieved the impossible. He turned himself from an uneducated sailor into a sophisticated intellectual, only to realize the bitter paradox was that, as he thought, maybe there was no truth in anything, no truth in truth. So consider this, listener. If the world you're striving for, that final destination, is revealed to be nothing but a carefully constructed illusion, what is the remaining value of all the immense effort you put into pursuing it? That's the final agonizing question this deep dive leaves with us.